In this presentation, we're going to cover environmental and energy policy. Focus in recent years has been on climate change, characterized by rising temperatures and increased storm activity. The Environmental Protection Agency has developed far-reaching and politically contentious plans to reduce emissions from coal-fired power plants, which release about 40% of the nation's total energy-related greenhouse gas emissions. The increase in hydraulic fracturing has been controversial, but it has also led to inexpensive natural gas. Environmental policy we define as government actions that affect or attempt to affect environmental quality and the use of natural resources. So you'll notice that the political debate around these policies focuses on different things, preserving our environmental quality and using our natural resources for energy. Mostly today I want to discuss some key environmental policies. The National Environmental Policy Act of 1969 acknowledged man's impact on the environment and required agencies to prepare environmental impact statements for decision-making purposes. This didn't prevent an agency from making a harmful choice, but made them document what the possible environmental impact of their choice would be. The Clean Air Act amendments of 1970 created federal air quality standards. The Clean Water Act of 1972 regulates water surface quality. The Federal Environmental Pesticide Control Act of 1972 required the EPA to regulate pesticides used commercially in the U.S. The Safe Drinking Water Act of 1974 was designed to ensure the quality and safety of drinking water by specifying minimum health standards for public water supplies. The Resource Conservation and Recovery Act of 1976 regulates existing hazardous waste disposal practices and promotes the conservation and recovery of resources through comprehensive management of solid waste. The Toxic Substances Control Act, 1976, gave the EPA comprehensive authority to identify, evaluate, and regulate risks associated with commercial chemicals. You'll notice the era of these key acts related to the EPA. The Environmental Protection Agency was, to some folks' surprise, created under President Nixon because of a number of crises involving the environment. And most of our policy types, the policy type that is mostly used with environmental policy is command and control. The major environmental protection statutes share a common approach to solving the problem. They rely on command and control, and this is the direct regulation where government sets and enforces standards. So these are how much of a chemical can be in your water, how much can be how much in emissions can be released into the air from our cars, these kinds of things. And this is a part of direct regulation over industry when it comes to pollution and the environment. And you know, the big reason that the Environmental Protection Agency came to be is because of a number of environmental events that clearly showed that we weren't treating our water and our air well. One of them being the Cuyahoga River catching on fire, which happened more than once. The Cuyahoga River caught on fire more than once. And finally, we decided something needed to be done. And so not only do we get all of these all of these acts and an entire agency devoted to environmental protection, that's not the only outcome of rivers catching on fire. We also get a really great beer, the Great Lakes Burning River. So we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for the Cuyahoga River catching on fire many years ago. So you have that to thank. But yeah, so those are the main. These are the key environmental policies that came out of the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency.